It is nice to be back, and it's now time to make my picks for Week 11 of the 2017 NFL season. Now, of course, since I didn't make my picks last week, to let you all know, I went 8-5 in Week 9, and last week I did make my picks on my Football Fanatics Discord chat, where I went 9-4 last week. The only things I got wrong were Cowboys at Falcons, Packers at Bears, Vikings at Redskins, and the Jets at Buccaneers. And here's my update stands, which include update record, which shows both 2 weeks ago and last week's stands too. And then here's the playoff standings with 11 weeks, with 6 weeks. Yeah, 7. I think it was 7 weeks remain, as it's the Steelers and Patriots still with the byes, with the Bills going to the Chiefs and the Jaguars going to the Titans in the AFC side. In the NFC, it's the Eagles and Vikings still with the byes, with the Seahawks going to the Saints and the Panthers going to the Rams. And my Super Bowl pick now, I say it's going to be the Saints beating the Steelers. So now on to the picks. So we get this week started with Thursday night tonight, and whoo boy, it's going to be great, hopefully, as it's the Titans going to the Steelers for the first time since 2013, as it's a matchup between two division-leading opponents, and of course, it would be nice if it could be a reminiscent of the old AFC Central days between these two. And of course, this game also has first-round bye implication at the line too, as the Titans win, as they'll take over the lead for the second seed AFC playoff picture at the moment. As the Steelers, wow, they've regressed, and now they've turned back to the original Steelers with the second best defense, with their offense still being terrible. They can get the yards, but not the points. And the Titans, they are overrated pretty much. They're nowhere near as good as they were last year. As a matter of fact, I think they still allow more points than they have scored so far this year. So yeah, they got a lot of problems to deal with still. As they got a lucky comeback victory against the Bengals last week, and the Steelers, yeah, that showed last week when they barely beat the Colts, a team that they destroyed the last 3 years in a row. But in the end, I think the Steelers will win this one. And then we get to the 1 p.m. games in the game that was delayed since it was the season over because of Hurricane Irma, as it's the Buccaneers going to the Dolphins for the first time since 2009, and wow, what 2 months difference made. At the beginning of the season, I legitimately thought the Buccaneers, since the NFC South I thought was going to be kind of weak this year, I thought the Buccaneers could have had such a good record there that it might propel them to possibly become a Super Bowl contender, and I thought the Dolphins were going to shit the bed this year. So far, the Dolphins pretty much have done it, although their record is a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. But the Buccaneers, oh my god, they have shat the bed so far this year. They are terrible pretty much. I'm starting to wonder if last year was just like a fluke or something like that, as Jameis Winston, I think, is still out for a good couple weeks still. So, before the season, and leading up to that week 2, I thought the Buccaneers were going to easily dominate and get this one, but now I think it's going to be the Dolphins getting the win. And then it's the Lions going to the Bears, as the Lions have now won 2 in a row now, and the Bears, they blew a big opportunity last week when they blew it against the Packers pretty much. Now, of course, the Lions are most certainly a better team. However, the Bears still have a pretty good record against the Lions when they play them at home. And in fact, remember, the Bears beat the Lions last year as one of their 3 wins last year too. So, and of course, they played much better at home this year, so you can't underestimate them. And I think the Bears are going to get this one. And then it's the Jaguars going to the Browns for the first time since 2013, I believe, as the Browns got their first losing season since last year and trying to avoid 0-10 for the second year in a row. And of course, if the Browns lose and the Jaguars win, the Browns are eliminated for the playoffs for now would be the 16th year in a row. And of course, this one I thought was going to be probably one of the Browns' wins this year, but who would have thought out of nowhere the Jaguars would be a pretty good team at the moment. So, of course, I won't be surprised if the Browns somehow pull it off, because the Jaguars, as we saw, although they've won 3 in a row, remember they had that streak where they were like win one then lose one, so maybe that'll come back to bite them in the end. But I still think the Jaguars, with that really strong defense, are going to pull it out. And it's the Ravens going to the Packers for the first time since 2009, as the Ravens have never beaten the Packers in Lambeau Field, and they had their bye last week, but they lost that tough one against the Titans, although I think the Titans pretty much just spanked them throughout the game, and the Packers got that needed victory against the Bears last week too. As, of course, the Ravens, like I said, they never beaten the Packers in Lambeau Field, and they've been struggling all over the place. The Packers, now they've won against the Bears pretty much. I don't really trust the Ravens overall at this point still in the season, so I think the Packers are going to get this one. And then it's the Cardinals going to the Texans for the first time since 2005. As the Texans, oh boy, without Deshaun Watson, they've completely and utterly collapsed. And I'm wondering, because I forgot to check the stats for AP when they played the Seahawks last Thursday night. I wonder if AP had 100 yards in the game, because like we said, like before that game, the first 3 games with AP with the Cardinals, when he rushes for 100 yards, the Cardinals won it. When he had under 100 yards, they lost it. So, Cardinals, if you want to start winning, being serious, you got to start feeding him the ball. And of course, you're still continuing that streak where you lost a game and then you win one. So, based upon that, and of course, I think you're much better overall right now than the Texans. They look like a mess now. Matter of fact, I think the Texans, the way they're playing right now without Deshaun Watson, I think they're going to be the second worst team in the conference behind the Browns. So I think the Cardinals will get this one, but I won't be surprised somehow if the Texans somehow get it. And then we get to a big NFC showdown with the first round bye at the line. On the line as the Rams go to the Vikings for the first time since 2015. As, wow, the Rams destroyed the Texans last week, and the Vikings actually managed to pull it off against the Redskins, too. It's going to be a battle between, I believe, the Rams have the #1 offense in the league, and the Vikings have one of the top defense in the league. And, of course, the last time they played, the Vikings barely pulled off in overtime and such. However, I think they're still overall much better. I trust them a lot more than I trust the Rams still, even though the Rams, I believe, won now 4 in a row or something like that. So I won't be surprised if they get, but I'm picking the Vikings for this. Then it's the Redskins going to the Saints for the first time since that 2012 game where RG3 just walloped them pretty much. As the Redskins, man, they lost a hard-fought game against the Vikings, although Kirk Cousins, he's had one of those down days. And the Saints, wow, 7 in a row now. They have one of the best offenses still as always. And they have a top 10 defense now. That's incredible. It's starting to look like the Saints from like the late 2000s to the 2010s pretty much. So because of that, I think the Saints are going to get this one. Unless the Redskins pull off some hell of an upset like they did against the Seahawks 2 weeks ago. And then it's the Chiefs going to the Giants for the first time since 2005. As the Giants are trying to avoid a first losing season for the first time since 2015. As the Chiefs still kind of are struggling pretty much. At that 5-0 start, they've went 1-3 the rest of the way. Although they're still easily leading the AFC West pretty much. And of course, at least for them, if they're going to lose this one, it's against the NFC team, so I won't hurt them against the division, the conference in the playoffs like it would be if they lost to a conference opponent. I think the Chiefs are going to get this, but don't be surprised if the Giants somehow pull it off. I just got a funny feeling that's going to probably happen. And then we get to the 4 p.m. game, starting with the Bills going to the Chargers for the first time since, I believe, 2011. As the Chargers lost 2 hard-fought games in a row against the Patriots and Jaguars. And the Bills, oh boy, they're doing exactly what they did in 2008, 2011. They started 5-2 in those years, and in 2008, after going 5-2, they were actually 5-1 at one point. They went 7-9 to finish the season, and last time 5-2, it was 2011, and they went 6-10 to finish the season. And of course, they got destroyed against the Saints last week, and then they got spanked by the Jets pretty much. And of course, they just benched Tyrod Taylor too now as well. So the Bills are such a hot mess that I think it's going to be the Chargers getting this one. And it's the Bengals going to the Broncos for the first time since that Monday night game in 2015, as this is the 4th year in a row they've played each other too. How about that? As the Bengals have not beaten the Broncos in Denver since 1975. That's how long it's been. And of course, both teams are a hot mess. Although the Broncos, oh my god, now they've lost 5 in a row, and they're getting like blown out pretty much every game now at this point. Whereas the Bengals, they fought hard and almost beat the Titans last week. So I won't be surprised if the Broncos somehow get the shit right and fix it. But I think the Bengals are going to get this. And then we get to the Mexico City game, as it's the Patriots going to the Raiders for the first time since 2011. As, like I said, like I kept saying to everyone on Twitter and stuff, relax. And when the Patriots were 2-2, they're still going to go away and win the AFC East. And so far now, it looks like they're going to do it just like they did that year. Now they've won 5 in a row. And of course, the Raiders, they're still in the competitive mix for maybe a wild card spot. But man, they got to really get this shit right pretty much if they want to have any shot. They have to win this if they want to have any consideration to maybe get a wild card spot in the playoffs. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Patriots are going to easily get this. And then we get to the huge Sunday night game, as it's the Eagles going to the Cowboys. as this is the third year in a row that this game was on Sunday night too. And of course, remember, unlike my other game times where I complain about there being the same opponent over again, these games were close. The last 2 times on Sunday night, they were overtime, with the Eagles winning the first one. The Cowboys won last year's game. And of course, the Eagles, I think they won 7 in a row, I believe it was. The Cowboys, without Zeke, they got destroyed against the Falcons. And for all of you that don't know, Zeke actually stopped trying to appeal his suspension, so now he's going to just sit out for the whole suspension instead. So it's 1 week down, so I think he might not be able to come back till week 16, I believe it was. So yeah, they're going to be in hot mess pretty much after that. And of course, I won't be surprised if the Cowboys win, since they've been right back. They've been, like I said, both games were overtime pretty much. But I think the Eagles, without Zeke, I think the Eagles are going to get this one. And then we get to the Monday night game, as it's the Falcons going to the Seahawks. And of course, oh boy, what a hot mess these two are. The Falcons are still struggling, although they had that dominant victory against the Cowboys last week. But Seahawks, oh, that's going to hurt LOB not having Richard Sherman pretty much. The Seahawks are probably going to limp their way into the playoffs if they're lucky at this point. And of course, I feel bad for Miami. Probably have to go to the game in the rain too, just like last time too. Oh boy, this is going to be probably a tough one, because remember, the Falcons almost beat the Seahawks last year too. And of course, that's with LOB. Pretty much the one for that bad pass interference call. Oh boy. And of course, I can't really trust either one of those teams, unfortunately, because although LOB is weak now because without Richard Sherman, Matt Ryan's been not so good this year, so it's not like he's going to easily challenge them pretty much. So, oh boy, it's a tough one to pick, but I think the Seahawks, I think I'm going to have to pick for this one. So those are my picks for Week 11. I can't wait for Titans and Steelers tonight, and I can't wait for all the rest of the games this week, and it's nice to finally be able to do these videos once again. And also, for all of you wondering, I am working on my Week 7 of PFA's video. I'm just getting the slides ready to go before I get to work on the actual video itself. And after that, I'm finally going to start working on the UFL playoffs, which I already did simulate many weeks ago. Just haven't gotten to the wildcard video yet. So tune in for them as well.